Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on a special edition on the Tech Talk. And my name is Jasper, Mangwana, the Internet Society Zimbabwe President. It's unfortunate Wadza, our Policy and Governance Officer, was supposed to be moderating this event today, but she had another commitment at the African region. Today, I want to talk about a very important issue, which is internet governance, considering the COVID-19 pandemic, which has come on us when we're not prepared and expecting it, which has also made a huge impact in terms of people's dependence on the internet. So today, to discuss that on multi-stakeholder engagement, we are joined with the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum. Shepard, who's also Director for Cybersecurity and Faculty, Mr. Cade, Zvavanjanja. Good afternoon, Mr. Cade.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? Good afternoon,
Great.
everyone. Good afternoon to all the panelists.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cade. We're also joined by the IT manager as the Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, POTRAZ, Mr. Boni Mtengwa. Welcome to the discussion, Mr. Boni Mtengwa.
Oh, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much. We're also joined with an academic, because wherever we go, we can't leave out the academics. Mr. Shepard Chifamba, who's a lecturer at Harare Institute of Technology. Welcome to the discussion, Mr. Chifamba. Maybe might be having a connection problem. We're also joined by the IT manager at Solusi University, who's also a member of the executive of the Internet Society. Mr. Ntokozo, welcome.
Thank you, Jasper. Good afternoon, good people.
Thank you so much. I think before we go anywhere, we would want to start with Mr. Cade Zvavanjanja. We know very well that internet governance, people might not be aware. Some people might think is more of information that is meant for technology people. Would you also just give us, in general terms, what is it that is internet governance? Just give us a brief establishment of the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum, its mandate, and how it intends to really engage the community in pushing the internet governance in Zimbabwe.
All right, so thank you, Chair. For internet governance, it is basically the policies, the principles of how decisions are supposed to be made within the internet sphere or within the cyber sphere, whereby all the stakeholders are coming together. That is the users, government, public sector, private sector, academia, and civic society coming together to shape a way on how the internet is supposed to be in general. If we look at, excuse me, the history of internet governance in Zimbabwe, it all gets back to WSIS. That is around in Tunis 2005, and then we have the global IGF being announced by the United Nations Secretary General in July 2006. From there, we started to have traction from the global level. Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead. We can now hear you. We lost you a bit.
Okay. Where we had the African ICT ministers in Khartoum in 2012 coming together and saying, okay, may the member states within the African Union establish also internet governance following the WSIS and also what had been pronounced by the Secretary General of the United Nations. And that then cascaded to the SADC region, where we had in 2012, where we had ICT ministers coming together and agreeing that we should set up national IGFs. And that was reiterated in 2014 in Malawi, where also the ICT ministers met, and they gave a deadline that by the 30th of June 2015, all the SADC countries must have established their NIGFs, that is National Internet Governance Forums. And we are proud as Zimbabwean that we managed to beat that deadline because we launched Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum in 17 June 2015, before that deadline. Basically, internet governance within Zimbabwe, its mandate is to bring all the stakeholders, that is academia, government, public sector, private sector, and civic society together and discuss any issues around the internet, how the internet is supposed to be, is, and was, in terms of policy, standards, legislation, and norms of the internet and practices thereof. So what you see within the context of Zimbabwe, you see it within the Southern Africa region, you see it feeding into the African region, and also you see it within the global sphere as part of the Global Internet Governance Forum. So basically, that's the history, and that is where we are currently. And as of now, we have POTRAZ as the Secretariat as based on the June 17 inaugural of ZIGF, and we have an MCT which currently I'm the chairperson and looking forward to be handing over the baton stick any time this year. Thank you very much. Back to you, Chair.
That's very interesting. We launched the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum in 2015.
Yes,
I believe we should be one of the first countries to launch that, which is a good thing, and we believe along the way we should move. I'll come to you, Mr. Boni. What is the role of POTRAZ on internet governance? You have heard you're the secretary for that. What is the role of the regulator? And also maybe if you can share with us the internet penetration statistics in Zimbabwe and its implications on the internet governance.
Thank you, Jasper. Just now to take over from what Mr. Cade, who is the chairman of the ZIGF, had said, as the regulator, we need to strike a balance between the consumer needs and also the availability of the service. So, but the internet is a little bit different because we do not have like a hands-on approach to regulation, like what we do on other services, there's other services that will put regulation. So as the regulator, we tackle internet governance in two areas. First of all, it's participation. The authority has a mandate to ensure that the governance models in Zimbabwe are all inclusive and that the relevant stakeholders have the right to participate and air their views. So in that regard, obviously, after attending the SADC Ministers Conference, where the countries were mandated to set up local internet governance forums, we as POTRAZ took the initiative to invite all the various stakeholders in the internet sphere in Zimbabwe, and we managed to set up the internet governance forum. So now we hope all the policies and the direction of the internet ecosystem in Zimbabwe and all the policies that we think people want to be in the internet sphere are supposed to be driven by a community-based initiative through the Internet Governance Forum, that is ZIGF. But we also have the second aspect, which is a regulatory aspect. As you know, the internet has got other things that needs sort of like regulation. So the authority has got a role in those key internet governance issues, namely the key internet resources, the management of key internet resources, the provision of access, protection of rights, and online safety and privacy standards. So obviously, you'll see that POTRAZ is heavily involved. For example, in Afrinic, the government working group, whereby we know that the resources that are being used on the internet, the IP addresses, the AS numbers are scarce resources. So basically, we need to be making sure that we protect those resources on behalf of our stakeholders. So in the event that you go to Afrinic to get resources, you do not get there, then they tell you that all the resources have been depleted. We must have a say in the current administration and the rollout of those AS numbers and stuff. The same as DNS, the same issues with child online protection. So those are other things that need direct regulatory intervention, because obviously their impact is more. Even overcoming the digital divide, the authority also needs to now make sure that we provide access to everyone in Zimbabwe so that everybody has got equal access to the internet. We are also, as POTRAZ, we're responsible for representing the country. As Mr. Cade was saying, the Internet Governance Forum also takes like all the stakeholders, but there are other forums that are actually discuss internet-related content, but mainly on the governmental side. So we talk of the UN, the ITU, and those other forums are actually mainly for the governments, where they'll be talking about security issues and stuff. So as POTRAZ, we also represent the country in that regard. Coming to the second question that you posed to me, the internet penetration rate. Currently, in Zimbabwe, we are sitting at 59.9 internet penetration rate. And also the current aggregate international bandwidth that is being consumed in Zimbabwe, taking consideration of all the internet access providers and mobile network providers, we are sitting at 324 gigabits per second. That's the capacity that we have as a nation. The coverage of our population that is being covered by every various form of telecommunication service, we are sitting at 83.9, but mainly being driven by the mobile. And we estimate that 70.5% of the Zimbabwe is covered. So the geographical coverage currently is estimated at 70.5%. I hand over to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Oh, Thank you so much, Mr. Boni. Very, very, very interesting statistics. There 75% of the geographical space in this country covered by infrastructure that allows our users to connect on the internet. And we have noted really two important issues to say. You also provide a participatory agenda in terms of engaging different stakeholders, a regulatory role in that aspect. Maybe before we come back to, I'll go to Mr. Shepard Chifamba. As an academic, what are the pillars of internet governance and its evolution from an academic perspective? Because we know very well that the internet cannot develop where the academic is quiet. What is these pillars? I think we might have lost Mr. Chifamba. I think I'll go to Mr. Ntokozo. Mr. Chifamba maybe is trying to join. Mr. Ntokozo, my question to you is maybe also as an academic, what has Zimbabwe done? Have we done enough research on issues to do with internet governance to match the global standards? What is your view from the end as a person from the academy?
Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you for the question. From my end, in terms of research, when it comes to issues of internet governance, I believe we still have a lot to go. We still have a lot to do. Because if you check the framework, I would have loved to ask from Cade the framework or the multi-stakeholder approach that ZIGF uses or employs. We are looking at a setup where the academia, the researches that are done are also published and the views are heard. Whereas with this COVID-19 that has left us in the open where we are now almost having everything being done online, the safety and the accessibility when it comes to issues of academia, we still are lagging behind. So I believe if ZIGF as well as the government and POTRAZ may try and spearhead the awareness of the role that academia still has in this task, so that at the end of the day, we are all in the same pedestal, and the researches that come out from the universities don't just end in the votes or in the libraries cabinets, but something that can be translated and put into policy. That's my take and that's my understanding that if we come to that point or that standard, then it will be easier for the nation to move forward with this issue of internet governance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ntokozo. I think you raised an important issue that we might be having a lot of good written documents, but our worry is on the implementation part. Maybe I'll come back to you, Mr. Cade. Has Zimbabwe adopted any digital information or data governance practices? And maybe why, if we have, why did we do that? If we haven't, and also why? And do they have any implications on user rights? This is up to you. Oh, we seem to have lost Mr. Zvavanjanja. I think the internet is giving us a bit of a challenge today. I think maybe it's trying to connect. So please, you allow me to move on to the next question. I think I'll take the question to Mr. Mtengwa. I was just asking that maybe as a regulator, when it comes to internet governance, what organizations or stakeholders are involved in internet governance in Zimbabwe? We've had you regulating different players. Maybe people might want to know what are the other players that are key that you regulate as an organization, besides us, the users, of course. If you can actually elaborate on that.
Thank you, Jasper. As the regulator, we are responsible for licensing the key players and mainly the operators in the telecom sector, the mobile network operators, the internet access providers, and their role is to provide internet access and related services. So these are the ones that are responsible for carrying Zimbabweans to the internet that we are trying to govern now. So we are the ones who are responsible for licensing them. And we have got rules and regulations, obviously, that we give them in order for them to be able to operate. On the second one, now Zimbabwe is in the process of developing a national e-waste strategy through the Ministry of Tourism. As you are aware, POTRAZ is not directly linked to the management of e-waste, obviously, but we make sure that when we are consulted, we give advice to the responsible ministry, which is the Ministry of Environment and Tourism anyway. So basically, these obviously will cascade to us, to the users, and also to the operators, so that when they are buying their equipment, usually it's mainly the equipment that is up to date and also relevant to that time. So POTRAZ is only regulates and licenses the key players in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Boni. I think you raise a very important issue there in terms of e-waste management, because definitely we're talking about greening the internet in the near future, whereby we hope whatever we bring in the country is useful to us, or maybe at times we're just being the freshway, the western or the eastern, they actually dump their infrastructure, which is not really useful. Absolute to them. Maybe Mr. Chifamba is managed to join. I was asking Mr. Chifamba in terms of the pillars of internet governance from yourself as an academic. If you can unmute your mic, I can see you've joined.
All right. Thank you very much, and my apologies about that. I think in terms of the pillars of internet governance, or the key things that influence internet governance, of paramount is the infrastructure. The infrastructure, this would include the technical aspects of the ICT, that means the connectivity, the platforms that we use, the security and related things. They influence the policy on internet governance. On the other side, we've got the legal framework, which is the legislature, where we see the laws and the policies that are there to govern the use of the internet, and also to protect the users of the internet as a platform. Thirdly, we've got the economic pillar, how the internet is going to generate income, and its influence on how this income is generated. We look at issues like taxation, customs, value creation over the internet. When we look at e-commerce, the value that's being exchanged. Also, the cost of access is part of the influencer of how these policies should be formulated. The fourth pillar is development. We look at the rural-urban divide, and this divide influences how internet is governed, in the sense that if you look at the rural areas, the access to internet is a bit low, but if you look at these days, there has been a rollout of fiber by Tier 1 and other players, and I was even surprised in my rural home to find Wi-Fi there connected. So this development, when we try to bridge the rural-urban divide, also influences the way we develop these laws and policies that should govern the internet. In the rural areas, there are norms which are a bit different from the urban areas, and these are being overridden by access to internet. And governance should come in to try and settle and bring normalcy to culture, as well as activities that are being done on the internet. Also, but socio-cultural, the socio-cultural pillar of internet. This now looks at the human rights, the consumer rights, the content policy, safety of users on the internet, especially the children. We also look at how education can be delivered over the internet. All these five, they now come together to help us formulate the internet governance policy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chifamba. I think Mr. Cade is not really, is trying to connect, but he's having some issues, quite important issues raised there. I don't know if you agree with me. If people have got any questions, you can post them on our social media handle as well as on our chat box. Maybe I'll come to you, Mr. Boni. You have said that almost 78.9% of our geography in Zimbabwe is connected to the internet. Are there any different approaches when it comes to internet governance or internet connection in terms of standards between those in urban areas and those in rural areas? Is the regulator planning to differentiate the approach so that it really can suit the social economic differences to bridge the digital gap between the rural and the urban? I don't know if that makes sense.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jasper. Just to clarify, the internet penetration is 60%. And when you're talking of the geographical coverage, which is the 70.5%, it's geographical coverage that will be looking at 2G and better. So some other areas will be covered by the telecommunication services, but without internet, maybe without fast internet. Okay, so maybe, for example, somebody's under 2G is being covered, but they won't be having proper access to the internet. But now, as the regulator, we do not differentiate now to say we have got policies, internet policies that are different for people in Harare and the ones in the rural areas. No, you understand that when you're going onto the internet, we become equal citizens. So someone who is on the internet in the rural areas and somebody who is on the internet in the CBDs, they are the same when they go onto the platform, which is the internet. So we definitely do not have policies, but now we have got policies that help people in the rural areas to have cheaper access to the internet. That is the reason why I told you that as the regulator, we've got various sections that we regulate, but now for people in the rural areas, we provide cheaper access to the internet. But obviously the policies when that will be governing them when they go into the internet will be the same as the policies that are that are governing the ones that are in the cities. So as POTRAZ, obviously, we've been trying to ramp up the provision of cheaper internet in the rural areas through the community information centers, and also the USF has been putting base stations in the rural area so that at least they have access. When they have access, then you take the step further to see other things that they need. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bonibe. That's quite interesting. When you use on the internet, you have equal rights, and the cost you pay should be the same, either you're in Harare or you're in Zarabani. That's very important. I believe it's also neutral for everyone because the usage of the internet is the same. I think Mr. Cade has managed to join us. Mr. Cade, our question to you is that has Zimbabwe adopted any digital information or data governance practices as far as internet governance is concerned, and what are the implications of the user rights? That was the question that's waiting for you as the chairperson for the Zimbabwe Internet Governance.
Thank you, Chair. I had lost you out there. Maybe it was the weather in the garden where I was, but I'm back now. All right. If we look at our core definition of what is internet governance, as we looked before, we are looking at the practices, the standards, the legislation that is there. So our core legislation in internet governance is the Constitution of Zimbabwe, basically, where it gives rights of people of what's supposed to be in terms of digital rights, and the rights which are supposed to be enjoyed within the physical space are the same rights that are supposed to be enjoyed within the internet. So that becomes our blueprint in terms of internet governance in Zimbabwe, and everything else becomes subservient to that law. And now we have the enabling and operative legislation. For instance, the Telecoms Act. We're looking at the current bill, which is within discussion, that the Cybersecurity and the Cybersecurity Act, which is within the discussion itself. We'll look at bills like access to information. We'll look at the cybersecurity policy, the ICT policy, all those as they are part of enablers and frameworks for how the internet is and should become the core fundamentals in terms of legislation and policy in Zimbabwe per se. So we do not have anything specific that says internet governance, but we have all those pillars within different frameworks. For instance, Bonnie talked about the child online protection. POTRAZ is a fantastic document on child online protection. We have access to information. There's currently the act which is there according to the current constitution in terms of access to information. And we have all those things and frameworks coming up together, but we do not have something that will say this is an internet governance document for Zimbabwe per se, because it's not in isolation. It's made up of all those pillars: the technical pillar, the policy pillar, the regulatory pillar, and the users themselves then become part of it all. As the other speakers, I missed some, talking of issues to do with access, availability, and affordability of the internet per se, which are tackled in different policy documents and within different statutory instruments which we have as a country per se. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cade. That's very, very informative, that we cannot run away from our own constitution, because whatever global standards that are there, they have to be implemented according to the laws of the land. Maybe I'll come to you, Mr. Chifamba. How has been our academic contributing towards the legislation in this country? we've been having our academics really, when consultations are done by the regulator, when consultations are done by the government, do we really come in to chip in and have our ideas on the table? Because I see there's a lot of things happening around in terms of internet governance. Recently, we have seen what has happened in the USA, whereby a lot of some of these social media owners, they've run really into much of water loss because of the developments happening. They actually putting the importance of internet governance. What has our academics done? Are we really taking part to make sure that we also contribute to the development of the internet, to assist the government, to assist the regulators, and those that are players in this? Over to you, Mr. Chifamba.
Thank you very much. We have seen invitations and some of the members from the academia, from the universities, polytechnics, and other colleges. Yes, invitations are coming and people are having these discussions. But however, most of the academics are a bit shy to tackle this because most of them, they look at it as a law kind of thing. They need lawyers to do that. So most academia in ICT, they shy away from these discussions because they feel they lack the fundamental law knowledge or law expertise to tackle some of these issues. But yes, I have had my boss going to one of the discussions called by the ministry, and I think there is need for the academia to come forward to motivate themselves, and also at times to have issues thrown to them, say, please, can you develop such a policy for us? Can you please go and do a research on the access to this and this and this, and please give a report to us? I think that way some of us would probably come forward and try to tackle these things. And also the challenge with the academia in Zimbabwe is there is a bit of competition between universities, with one university saying we are better than these guys and we are better than those. But if we can put our heads together and come up with a solid framework which affects or which unifies the whole nation and say this is the position from the academia, and probably give it to the legislator and other players like probably POTRAZ and so on. This can help us to probably make a bigger contribution and possibly a bigger impact. But I should appreciate that POTRAZ has been probably pushing these topics to us, but there's been lack or rather low uptake of these issues. I think mostly because of this divide between our colleges and universities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chifamba. I think we were also seeing quite an important issue coming from there, and we have also heard that the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education has actually brought in on board Education 5.0, which talks of innovation and industrialization. I'll come to you, Mr. Ntokozo, to explain to us, is really our curriculum changing to meet what the players in the industry are talking about? People like Mr. Cade Zvavanjanja's language, is it really common in the educational sector, or we're still saying this is how you code the law to what we did in 2004 when I was really an undergrad? Is our curriculum moving towards issues to do with internet governance, or we're still stuck what has been there? Over to you, Mr. Ntokozo.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. What we are seeing now, they seem to be, our academia, our education system seem to be moving into education 5.0, which then now it's a setup where whatever we are teaching or whatever is being given in the classroom is something that can be implemented. Hence, you are seeing now the government giving also funding the innovation centers or the innovation hubs, whereby whatever is being taught, we need to implement it in that it results in a project, which was what I was alluding to say we need more of that. Whatever is being, let's be practical, let's be real, let's do things that really matter. Let's not be doing, let's not be theoretical in our teaching. And we are in that age now. We are seeing that coming into the classroom. And I believe with that being infused, especially from the higher organization or from the higher government, it's easier for the universities to fit into the national policies, because whatever is being done is tested, is then taken to the to the community or into the industry.
Because I think I'll go to you, Mr. Cade, quite very important information there to say, let's teach what is relevant in the industry. Because of what COVID-19 has brought to us, I think when we are focusing on how to make sure that everyone can benefit from the opportunities in the ICT, and also take part in decision making around internet governance, maybe through the inclusion of stakeholders. How accessible is ZIGF and its structures in terms of inclusion? This is meant for you, Mr.
All right, thank you, sir. ZIGF itself is made up of all the stakeholders. As you have seen, we have academia in, we have private sector in, we have technical community in, government, and civic society. All those 5 pillars basically make up the industry and commerce of this country per se, and its governance as it is. So you find its accessibility is best now on those 5 pillars coming together to form one thing, and also disseminating and going back to their constituencies. So we are saying the people in academia, they are pushing the agenda of the academia, not just of those represented within the MCT, but of the academia as a whole. The people in technical, those are operators, so forth, are not just pushing the agenda of those who sit in the MCT, but of that grouping as a whole. The same with the private sector, the same with government. So when you're saying government is represented, we are not saying all the ministries are there, but yes, they may not be there, but they are there by proxy of those who are already within that. So accessibility, yes, is accessible to everyone, but we cannot have everyone at the same time on the same place. Henceforth, you find we have the MCT that does the programming, we have the secretary that does day-to-day running, and we have the usual forum that is open to everyone. But as I said before, we cannot have everyone on the same place at the same time. Henceforth, people go back to their constituencies. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cade. I think maybe I'll come to you, Mr. Boni. I think we've seen quite a lot of consultation in terms of the data protection and cybersecurity bill that is coming on board, with the move to make sure that we provide trusted and resilient safe internet for all. What would be your recommendation to the stakeholders that are involved, and what do you think are the basic principles from a regulator perspective to ensure that we achieve these? I think this question I'll pose it to everyone, but I'll start with you, Mr. Boni.
Okay, thank you, Jasper. As POTRAZ, we believe in public consultations, and we believe the best policies are as a result of adequate consultation, so that we take everyone's input on board. Because obviously, if a policy is done by POTRAZ, it goes to Parliament, it's debated, it's gazetted, it might not be actually an adequate policy, because obviously as POTRAZ, we only have got the view of a regulator, but we don't have the view of a journalist. We don't have the view of a teacher. We don't have the view of somebody who is in academia. So that is the reason why we make sure that we publicize every policy that we think has got an impact on people's lives or has got an impact in the internet ecosystem. And just to check what Mr. Chifamba was saying, yes, we also need the academia to play a leading role on when we are actually sending out public consultations, because we believe they also have people who have got enough expertise. So as Zimbabwe, if we keep on working together, working as stakeholders, participating in policy matters, because obviously at the end of the day, a policy in the internet ecosystem or in the internet sphere will affect you. So basically, a multi-stakeholder approach, which is the best practice internationally, is what we also practice as POTRAZ. And we believe going forward, we're doing that, we'll be able to actually foster a trusted internet ecosystem whereby everybody has got trust in our internet, and no one has got queries or thinking that somebody on the background is doing other things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Boni. That's very, very important today. I think where all our listeners from you really see the importance of being active in terms of the consultations that are being done by the regulator, because at times you might be having enough good information that is required to make a decision, but maybe channeling it towards the wrong platform where it cannot be considered. So when the regulator is open for us, it's important for us to engage. I think I'll ask also the same question to Mr. Chifamba. How do we intend to provide a trusted resilient and safe internet for everyone, considering that we've been behind the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of misinformation has been spreading. A lot of abuse has been happening on social media. People are talking about privacy, surveillance, as well as human rights. What's your view from an academic perspective? We've heard the regulator saying we really need to engage with you as the academics.
Sorry, can you come again? I didn't get the question.
I was asking from an academic perspective, what we intend to do so that we can provide a trusted, resilient, and safe internet for all in Zimbabwe.
Okay, from the academia side, I think the first and important thing that we can do is education. Educating ourselves, educating our students, educating the internet users, because safety starts with the user. If you don't know where to go and what you are exploring, you are making yourself vulnerable. So the first thing is to educate our users, be they at school or at home or wherever. Even in the rural areas, you find that someone is just getting a smartphone and they've got connectivity and they are seeing these ads coming to them. They don't know where to go. They are excited. They just click, touch, and they find themselves in positions which are very, very dangerous in the cyberspace. So the first thing is education. And the second thing probably is to influence legislature, the laws. I've read they talk about the cybersecurity bill. We must influence that to make sure that it does not only penalize offenders, but it also protects users on a larger scale. Also policies like the child security policy on the internet that has been talked by the previous speaker, and also protection of whatever we are sharing on the internet, like we are doing classes online. I'm going to create content for my class. I'm going to make slides and lectures, but are they safe from unauthorized sharing? We've got students doing their work, their research work. They're going to share that research work on the internet with their supervisors. Is it going to be protected? Because that is intellectual property that's going to be generated. So we need to influence legislature such that it protects those things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chifamba. I think I'll continue with the same question to Mr. Zvavanjanja before we ask the last question, so that at least we can call it a day, so that we hit on. Mr. Cade, I think your view on this, when and how do we intend to provide trust?
The bottom line of resilience, of security, and of operational convenience are people. People, people, people. When the people are capacitated, not on what to think, but on how to think, not on what to do, but how to do it, not on just having tools and policies, but to be participatory in the development of the tools and the policies themselves. That is a key thing that is needed within Zimbabwe and Africa as a whole, to capacitate our people. And secondly, we need to work up on our economies of scale. Most of our security products and our resilience products, we are importing those products. So if we do not work our balance of payments in terms of those products that we are importing, we are net importer of those services. We are net importer of those softwares and those hardware. We need to change that to have local solutions that are not just used locally, but are used within the region itself and within the globe. It's high time where we start to have unicorns in cybersecurity coming out of Zimbabwe. It's high time we start to have multi-billion-dollar valuations of companies coming from our motherland. It's high time where we just move from just having policies, but having policies that make us money. Money that we are able to invest back into security. Money that we are able to capacitate the people to go forth and do policy monitoring and evaluation and give government feedback. Money that is able to finance government operations through taxes. That is the second pillar. The third pillar is our education system. It's high time, in as much as getting an A is important, but it's high time for somebody to come to their supervisor and say, can this thing get me a patent? Not can this thing get me a distinction? Distinctions are good, that's good. But it's high time we start to focus beyond distinctions to have an entrepreneurial mindset within our academia. Then when we have those pillars, the people, the police, the financial aspects, and multi-governance on multi-stakeholder, all the pillars coming together, we'll be able to secure our country, we'll be able to have the internet that we want, and we'll be able to have resilience within the internet space. And as much as we're exporting people out there, we'll start to see people coming to Zimbabwe, we'll start to see skills being financially financed and viable within the locus of Zimbabwe. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cade. That's very important. People. We seem to be a consumer of internet, so its governance at times may be limited to us. I'm not so sure it's a view I'm posting to the people. I think now we'll listen to Ntokozo before we come up with the last round question that I'm going to ask each and every panelist, some wishes coming from our Facebook chat. Mr. Ntokozo, or maybe he's having a connection problem. But lastly, maybe what I'll ask, I'll start with Mr. Chifamba. As really people trusting the internet, it's something else. What are the opportunities associated with internet governance, which you think from an academic side you're able to share with other people that they can actually join in and also be part of this? We know very well that Zimbabwe is a young country, is a youthful country with most of its population below the age of 35. What are the opportunities from an academic side that are associated with internet governance, which we think our young people can also be part of?
Thank you very much. If you look at it, internet has opened a wider space, and it has made it easy for research. Gone are the days when you'd go into a library, walk down the aisles and look for books in the shelves. Now you can just go on the internet and you Google it. And also it has also made it easy for us to deliver classes apart from research, because you simply prepare your notes, you prepare your class, you prepare your lectures, then you can do it over the internet, including on platforms like Zoom that we have, Teams, and also our students can give the assignments and their work through certain e-learning platforms, and these are being facilitated by the internet. And also, this has helped in student research work, in trying to develop the IP, as has been alluded to by the other speaker. We want to create patents, we want to create intellectual property. The internet has now made it easy for us to know what has been done elsewhere and what the gaps are and what we can do. We also look at what is lacking in our society, comparing it with societies out there because of the internet. But however, this opening up of this space has also left a big hole where some other people or other players from elsewhere can tap into what we're doing and easily get it at no cost. We also need to find ways that include the governance and the policy that can protect this work that we're developing and whatever we're doing over the internet, and make sure that we get value from it, as has been said, because the internet is free, the internet is open, but it also means that our ideas can easily be taken out there by someone for free and easily. So we need the internet governance policy to protect the intellectual property being developed in our universities by our lecturers, by our students, and whoever is doing their research work. So the internet governance policy should come in to try and guide and protect these ideas. And these ideas can easily be made into money, and this money can be our money. So we should try and protect it through this governance policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chifamba. That's very, very insightful. I think I'll go to you, Mr. Boni. From your own perspective, what do you think are the opportunities in the internet governance area where our people, our community, because we believe the internet is for everyone, the tech is only, but it's for everybody. What opportunities do you think they should really venture into and actually be moving toward?
Oh, thank you, Jasper. Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities in the internet space that we believe needs to be exploited by Zimbabweans. And obviously, that is the reason why POTRAZ came up with a fund that can actually give people money in order for them to be able venture into this kind of innovations and stuff. As what has been saying by Mr. Cade, as Zimbabweans, we are net users, obviously, net importers of the internet. And on the statistics that I gave you, to say we've got 324 gigabits per second of internet, that is outgoing internet that is being imported. And obviously the usage of that one maybe can be 60% of that 324 gigabits per second. But now looking at local traffic, local content, local internet, whereby traffic that is exchanged locally by locals, by businesses, or maybe you are consuming a local service, you need to maybe pay your bills online, you need to maybe pay your taxes online, that content is less than 500 megabits per second. Because the traffic that is being exchanged locally, obviously we take that information from the internet exchange point, whereby internet networks are connected and they exchange local traffic. So you see that we are a net importer. The challenge is we need to find ways of generating or creating local content. And as we manage to do that, obviously the academia has to play a leading role there. And entrepreneurs have to play a leading role there. The private sector has to play a leading role there, because that's where we are lacking. We might have a lot of capacity, a lot of bandwidth in Zimbabwe, but the sooner, even if you put 500 gigabits per second international traffic, the moment that you realize that your internet is now fast, you now tune your YouTube video to go to 4K, we are consuming it again. So we are always net importers, and we are racing against a target of us importing. But if we generate our own, if people are entrepreneurial, they generate their own traffic, our own local services, we would be better off. So as the regulator, we see that our users, that is why the trust on mainly is on user awareness, because we know that our users want to consume internet services. And we believe that people in Zimbabwe are now trusting the internet very well. They now go there. But the biggest risk that we have on the internet, that we see as POTRAZ, is in an informed user. Because obviously they get excited with the internet and they go there uninformed, they'll always agree to everything that they see on the internet, because obviously they want to see more, and they share identifiable information, they share their private pictures and stuff, which we believe is not supposed to be the case. So definitely we will continue with awareness, but we believe there is actually a market for new services, which are Zimbabwean services. And if people go there and develop their own initiatives, their own applications in Zimbabwe, we can generate our local content that we believe will be able to make economic sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cade. Those are Mr. Boni, those are very, very informative statistics in terms of our own local content creation. And then it means we have a long way to go. If we really have the academics, if we really have the innovators, as well as applications development in the private sector, the multi-stakeholder engagement is key in terms of that content generation. That is very important, because you have actually showed us in terms of statistics that our people really need the internet. But the question is, the internet, the actual accessing is not what we are creating here, but it's created somewhere else. So there is need for content. I'll come to you, Mr. Ntokozo, before I ask everyone to give us their closing remarks.
The advantage of internet governance, the opportunities that we see is, number one, in academia. As we speak, students are not here, they are home, and others are out of the country. Borders have been closed, but the continuity of education is real because of internet. And the pillar that pushes or that drives continuity on this is internet governance. The policies that have been put in place, the issues of accessibility to the last mile or to the last person and the last user, where the frameworks are proper and where there is proper policy in terms of internet governance, and there is that safety, people trust our internet, it's easy for our users to continue with their day-to-day functions, even from the comfort of their homes. That's the greatest opportunity I'm seeing with internet and the Internet Governance Forum. And then the other one is, when it comes to issues of trade, we are seeing avenues are opening, because people open up, like the other speaker said, to say the issues of IP, intellectual property. when the avenues open up, then people are, the worldview changes automatically. So where there is trust, where there is an open connectivity, and where there is openness in terms of internet governance, it's easier for even our citizens to start exporting, like Mr. Boni is fighting for. So I see great opportunities, especially when we are entering this phase of 2021. Opportunities are still there, especially when the government and POTRAZ continue to avail more resources, especially to the users. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ntokozo. I think maybe we greatly appreciate this time that we've had and this conversation, which we believe will take us a long way. It's just an engagement where we're saying we should have a multi-stakeholder engagement to appeal to those that are relevant, to ensure that whatever our concerns that are, we can develop the internet together. I think I'll ask each panelist to just give your last words. A lot of things is we appreciate the availability and also this presentation as Internet Society coming from the Postal Communications Regulatory Authority. The presence of POTRAZ is really important to us as we promote connected and connected, as well as ZIGF or the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum chair, and also the academics. I think I'll give it over to you, Mr. Shepard, for the start, or maybe I'll start with you, Mr. Ncube, since you're the last speaker.
Thank you for the time. I would like to thank the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter for affording us an opportunity to discuss such issues with offices that and stakeholders that are really concerned when it comes to issues of connectivity, as we try to partly connecting the unconnected in this year and beyond. We see this as a milestone in a manner that our voices are also heard, and as we try to lobby for the community and the general populace, it's easier because the stakeholders are here and they are open, they are listening to us. Thank you for such an opportunity.
Ntokozo, I'll go to you, Mr. Chifamba.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. But I only have two issues that I want us to take home. The first is, yes, the internet is giving us the same platform where, even if you are from the rural areas or in the urban areas, but can't we differentiate a policy which preserves culture depending on the geographical location? Secondly, we want to look at not internet as an enabler of research, but can we actually do the research on internet such that we develop our own local products and we do not become net importers, but become net exporters, as has been said by Mr. Boni. Thank you very much, Jasper, and thank you very much, Internet Society.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chifamba. Over to you, Mr. Mtengwa.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for having us here. I would like to thank Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter for the opportunity that it has given us. As POTRAZ, people believe that we are difficult to engage, but we believe that we are open. And I'm sure if we organize more of these, definitely then we can share a lot of other important information. We are always open for collaboration, and we believe if anyone has got anything that has got impact on the internet, we are free as POTRAZ, you can engage us. There are obviously other things that are taking place, innovations that are taking place, new policies that are taking place in other countries that also have got an impact on Zimbabwe, as we are where we are in a global village of the internet. So we are not in isolation as Zimbabwe. So anything that takes place globally and it's good and it's being adopted, we are always free, engage us. Just to say, we are always open for everyone. We please feel free to engage POTRAZ, and we believe if every one of us does their utmost best, we can have a good internet ecosystem in Zimbabwe, and we can definitely be one of the South Koreas in Africa, because in Zimbabwe we have got people who are intelligent, but they are not putting in their best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Boni. We want to thank you very much for being on this panel discussion. It's unfortunate the chairperson for the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum, Mr. Cade, Zvavanjanja, had some technical problems and network issues. We're talking of internet governance today, and at least they've got the taste of the internet they want to govern. I hope from this discussion we can always catch up and elaborate and exchange. It's important for us to seek each other a partner for the development of Zimbabwe. We very much want to appreciate the support from the Postal Communications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe. They've been very much supportive and open in terms of engagement. You can also do the same. There's no reason for us to start shouting on the internet when the offices are there where we can go and engage and write to them. We also appreciate our academic, also appreciate the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum. Please become a member of the Internet Society Zimbabwe chapter today. It's free, you don't pay anything. Quite a lot of opportunities that are available there. We are the Internet Society Zimbabwe. Mr. Cade, I think, wants to come in to also share his last thoughts. My apologies, I think he's joining now so that he can give us his last words, because he is the current chairperson of the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum. Welcome, Mr. Cade. I think you are here at the right time to just give your last words to our listeners.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair.
I understand, because at least you are the chairperson of the Internet Governance Forum, and this is happening to you.
This is not good. We have okay, that's a topic of another day. How can you run businesses in this time of COVID when just because of weather you felt you have connectivity, not just on one access point but on multiple access points? All right. That's my last parting remarks. I usually call them 3 A's. That is access, affordability, and availability, and security. We need to tap into the opportunities that access to internet service, to other providing services is and supposed to be, in terms of entrepreneurial policy, governance, and way of doing things. Access is key. Affordability is another pillar that is key. The affordability of education, of services, of the things that are supposed to be there. And lastly, last A, availability. Availability of local content services, of local skills, and of the internet itself. Because if it's not available, that's actually a security risk on its own, because availability is one of the key fundamentals of the CIA tetrad. And lastly, security. Every development that is coming in, whether it's Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, it's all now have security conscious in it. So in as much as our legislation and our people are catching up to security, we need now to have legislation secure by design, innovation secure by design, not to have security as a second thought. But once we are doing the digital commerce, the COVID regulations, everything, to have cybersecurity in mind, not as an afterthought, but as part of the risk management system of those conversations and policy formulations. With those 3 things, availability, affordability, accessibility, and security, we'll be able to build a pillar as a multi-stakeholder, with all the stakeholders being given a chance and creating a chance for the other stakeholders working together. And I'm thankful of what government has been doing, and it's our role to support them. And I'm thankful for what academia has been doing. It's our role to support them. And above all, how private sector, civic society, and the technical community have also been doing. We have managed this far within COVID, showing how important the internet is, and we have managed so far. In as much as we may not be what we need, but we have done something, and it's something that we should be proud of as Zimbabweans. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the invite. My apologies once again for the in and outs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cade. Very, very informative and important today. The 4 pillars that are quite key for us to move on together. We greatly appreciate the support, and we want to also thank our viewers who have been following. We are Internet Society Zimbabwe. It's been a great pleasure talking to you today. We had a presentation on the multi-stakeholder participation on internet governance, where we had the chairperson for the Zimbabwe Internet Governance Forum, Mr. Cade Zvavanjanja. We also had the IT manager at POTRAZ, Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, Mr. Mtengwa, also an academic at Harare Institute of Technology, Mr. Shepard Chifamba, as well as an IT manager and also an executive member of the Internet Society Zimbabwe, Mr. Ntokozo at Solusi. Thank you so much for being with us. We hope to engage and continue to engage. Remember, whatever your concerns to the Internet Society Zimbabwe, you can also go and naturally sign up to the call for suggestions on our strategic plan for 2021, where a lot of activities are coming on board. We hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Remember, COVID is out there, COVID is real. Stay indoors, mask up, maintain a social distance, as well as sanitize. And also let's try to be at home and work from home. enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much. I've been standing in for Zanai, who was supposed to moderate this panel. She has been committed to other issues. We hope all is good. Thank you.
Thank you.